Good morning, Alex and friends. I'm Grace. Today is Tuesday, December 31st, 2024, and you're listening to Alex's News. The weather in Riverside today will reach a mild high of 67 degrees, with a low of 46 degrees, making it a pleasant day for New Year's Eve celebrations. Coming up, we'll examine the details of a significant cybersecurity breach where Chinese hackers managed to infiltrate the U.S. Treasury's security systems. We'll also look at California's new legislation that increases penalties for those who assault emergency room workers. Plus, we'll explore how artificial intelligence and camera technology are being used to crack down on drivers who illegally use bus lanes. All this and more, coming up on Alex's News. We begin tonight with breaking news about a major cybersecurity breach at the U.S. Treasury Department. For more on this developing story, we're joined by our cybersecurity correspondent, Ethan Parker. Ethan, what can you tell us about this breach?
Grace, according to CBS News, Chinese state-sponsored hackers have successfully infiltrated the U.S. Treasury Department systems through a vulnerability in a third-party software provider called Beyond Trust. The breach was discovered on December 8th, when suspicious activity was detected in their remote support product.
Can you explain exactly how these hackers managed to gain access to such a sensitive system?
Well, The Guardian reports that the hackers stole what's essentially a master key used to secure Beyond Trust's cloud-based service. Think of it as stealing the master key to a building. Once they had that, they could bypass security measures and access multiple Treasury Department workstations.
How serious is this breach, and what kind of information was compromised?
According to CNN, while the exact number of compromised workstations hasn't been disclosed, the hackers managed to obtain unclassified documents. The incident has been deemed serious enough to be classified as a major cybersecurity incident, and multiple agencies are now involved in the investigation, including the FBI, CISA, and various U.S. intelligence agencies.
What steps has the Treasury Department taken in response?
They've taken several immediate actions, Grace. The compromised Beyond Trust service has been taken offline, and they're working closely with both private and public sector partners. They've also scheduled a classified briefing with the House Financial Services Committee and will be providing a detailed 30-day supplemental report on the incident.
And what's been China's response to these allegations?
Through their foreign ministry and embassy in Washington, China has categorically denied any involvement. However, intelligence sources cited by multiple news outlets connect this breach to a larger Chinese cyber campaign known as Salt Typhoon, which has reportedly compromised several U.S. telecommunications companies and potentially given Chinese officials access to private communications of American citizens.
Thank you for that comprehensive report, Ethan. We'll be sure to keep our viewers updated as this story develops. And now for our second story of the morning. We turn our attention to a growing crisis in our emergency rooms. Joining us to discuss California's response to violence against ER workers is our healthcare correspondent, Chloe Martinez. Welcome, Chloe.
Thanks, Grace. This is indeed a serious issue that's finally getting legislative attention. According to Cal Matters, Governor Newsom signed Assembly Bill 977 this past September, which takes a harder stance on those who assault emergency department workers by doubling the maximum jail time from 6 months to 1 year.
What's driving this change in legislation, Chloe?
The numbers are quite alarming, Grace. The American College of Emergency Physicians reports that more than 90% of ER doctors say they've been attacked in the past year. Healthcare workers are facing violence at 5 times the rate of other industries, and they account for 73% of all non-fatal workplace injuries and illnesses due to violence.
Those are startling statistics. Do we know who's typically behind these attacks?
Yes, the data shows 2 main groups. According to reporting from LAist, 42% of assaults are committed by psychiatric patients, while 40% come from patients either seeking drugs or under the influence of substances. This has actually raised some concerns about whether increased penalties will effectively deter these specific groups.
I understand this bill has an interesting background. Can you tell us more about that?
The bill's author has a very personal connection to this issue. Assemblymember Freddie Rodriguez, who's a Democrat with 30 years of experience as an EMT, wrote this legislation after witnessing numerous attacks on colleagues. It hit especially close to home when his own daughter, who works as a respiratory technician, was assaulted on the job.
How has the healthcare community responded to this new law?
It's been mixed, Grace. While the California Medical Association has thrown its support behind the bill, some progressive Democrats and prison reform advocates have opposed it. The California Public Defenders Association, in particular, argues that increasing penalties isn't an effective deterrent, especially for those in mental health crisis. And it's worth noting that a similar bill was actually vetoed by former Governor Jerry Brown in 2015 due to concerns about prison population.
Thank you for that comprehensive report, Chloe. We'll continue to follow this important story. Here are some other headlines. Congress is considering the Social Security Fairness Act, which could expand benefits for millions of Americans. The bill would repeal provisions that reduce benefits for government employees and their surviving spouses. If passed, monthly payments could increase by an average of $700 for some recipients, with backdated payments starting from January 2024. A disturbing investigation in South Korea has uncovered widespread fraud in the country's historic foreign adoption program. Documents were falsified, children were trafficked, and families were torn apart through deceptive practices. A Truth and Reconciliation Commission is currently investigating hundreds of cases, with findings expected next year. In Florida, Democratic State Representative Hillary Cassell has announced she's switching to the Republican Party, citing Democrats being out of touch with voters and criticizing their stance on Israel. This change gives Republicans an 87-33 supermajority in the Florida State House. Moldova faces a severe energy crisis as Russia's Gazprom announces it will halt gas supplies starting January 2025. The decision stems from a disputed debt, with Gazprom claiming Moldova owes $709 million, while Moldova says it's only $8.6 million. The halt could leave many Moldovans without heat and electricity during winter months. In the Bronx, 6 people, including a mother and her 12-year-old daughter, were wounded in a shooting at a convenience store on New Year's Eve. Police are currently searching for the suspects, and the investigation is ongoing. And now for our third story of the morning. Transit systems across the country are turning to artificial intelligence to tackle a persistent problem: drivers blocking bus lanes. With us now is our transportation correspondent, Ethan Parker. Ethan, tell us about this new technology.
Thanks, Grace. According to multiple reports, transit agencies nationwide are adopting sophisticated AI-powered camera systems developed by a San Francisco startup called Hayden AI. These cameras, which are mounted inside bus windshields, can automatically detect and document vehicles that are illegally parked in bus lanes or at bus stops.
How exactly does this system work?
Well, as reported by NPR affiliate WESA, the technology captures 10-second video clips, along with photographs of license plates and precise timestamps when violations occur. Before the system goes live in any city, Hayden AI creates detailed maps of bus routes, including stops and lane markings. While AI does the initial detection, there's still human review of the evidence before any citations are issued.
And what kind of results are cities seeing with this technology?
The results have been quite impressive, Grace. According to data from New York's Metropolitan Transportation Authority, or MTA, they've seen a 5% increase in bus speeds, a 20% reduction in collisions, and a 10% reduction in emissions since implementing the system.
But I understand there have been some issues with the technology?
Yes, there have been some growing pains. The MTA reported that a programming error resulted in about 800 incorrect tickets being issued, with an additional 3,000 mistaken tickets during a warning period. All of these were eventually voided and refunded.
How is this program being funded?
Interestingly, Hayden AI has developed a unique business model. They cover all installation costs, but receive a share of citation revenue, up to $2,500 per bus per month. And for those concerned about privacy, the cameras only focus on the road and don't use any facial recognition technology.
And this isn't just happening in the US, correct?
That's right, Grace. The technology is now being implemented in several European cities, including Gigda SK, Poland, Braga, Portugal, Tallinn, Estonia, and Barcelona, Spain. It's becoming a global solution to a universal urban transit challenge.
Thank you for that comprehensive report, Ethan. Really interesting to see how AI is being used to improve public transportation. That's all we have for now. Today's episode was made by Alexander King, with Claude Sonnet 3.5, the Perplexity API, and the Google Cloud Text-to-Speech API. Hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, Alex.